Hey, go to www.howardferran.com and get a copy of my new book, Uncomplicate Business. I went through every monthly column I had written from 1994 to 2015, and I looked at those columns and realized that in business, you only manage three things: people, time, and money. So I stripped out all the dental and wrote a book that could take any business to the next level. I don't care if you're a dairy farmer, own a restaurant, you're a plumber, this book is for you. Pre-order my book now. Get your copy at howardferran.com. Hey, it is a huge honor for me to be podcasting you because, I mean, you have 22,000 posts on Dental Town, so I feel like you're crossing my brother, my neighbor, you know, family, blood, and I bet you so many people are going to watch this to say, who is the man behind all those posts? And so
I would love to be able to tell you that every one of those posts was valuable, but
I mean, you're a legend. Now we're both from UMKC.
We are.
I was class 87. What class were you?
93.
Okay, so you have to rub in that you're 6 years younger than me.
Just a little bit, yeah.
And you're 6 years younger, and you have hair. Now, where is Raymond, Missouri?
I'm in Raytown.
Where is that? A suburb of KC?
Yep, I am about 4 miles straight south of the stadium.
Oh, okay. But you're an Arizona Diamondbacks fan.
An Arizona Diamondback fan?
That's a joke. No. That's a joke. You know, I don't think I should say this in public, but when I was in UMKC, the Royals won the World Series. Remember, it was that.
Yep.
Was it I-70 or I-80? What's the interstate that goes?
70.
I-70. They called it the I-70 World Series because it was the St. Louis Cardinals 3 hours down the street on the same interstate, and our Royals won. And I mean, my neighborhood went batshit crazy till 3 o'clock. That was probably the most exciting night I ever had in my life. Do you remember that?
It was a great day.
It was a great day, and but anyway, I shouldn't say this, but I love George Brett. But about 3 times during dental school, going out with friends or whatever, I actually ran into him in a bar. What a unbelievably fun, crazy guy. So tell us about yourself, and how did you even stumble onto Dental Town back in the day? I mean, you've been on there since 2002. Yeah,
I probably wasn't one of the first, but I was probably on in the first 3 or 4 or 5 months, something like that. You know, I don't remember if I got an email blast or how that occurred, but yeah, that was back in the days of, I was still on AOL. That's how long ago it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I was you're known for your dogmas in dentistry. What are your dogmas in dentistry?
I think dentistry. We get a lot of things that kind of stick for long periods of time. I was reading a few months ago that in dentistry, the statistic was that it takes about 15 years for a new technique, a new technology to become fully integrated in dentistry. That's a long time. That's a long time. Some of the dogmas are that soft skills don't matter. That if I just do great dental work, people will come and see me and gladly pay me. Technology dogmas, this is an interesting one, and maybe you've seen this. I didn't know this after 20 years of dentistry. Many studies out there that show, take 2 groups of people, we're building dentures. One group, we do a face bow and we do a Gothic arch and we do a remount and the whole 9 yards, and the other group, we take some impressions, we make their dentures, put them on a hinge articulator. At 6 months, statistically, there is no difference in the happiness and the function of those two groups.
In fact, doesn't the 0 degree teeth usually be the happiest?
Yeah, exactly.
I went to the Pinky Institute for 5 or 6 weeks down there in Key Biscayne. I got my MAGD, and there's some good boys around me making some amazing dentures. And in 28 years, it's just problem after problem. They'll walk in and they have this perfect 33 degree anatomy, whatever. And I'll just say, well, You know, well, let me just slightly adjust it. And I walk it back to the lab lathe, and just go,
Make a monoplane.
Wipe it out, put it back in their mouth, and they're happy as can be.
Yep.
So, yeah. But I think that you're right about the technical skills versus soft skills. I've seen it in my own backyard. We had a couple of amazing orthodontists that just did perfect work. I mean, it was perfect. And one of them is out of business, and the other one is just kind of something along. And then in came these two Canadians, and they're just nothing but personality. I mean, you can't be in the room with them without grinning from ear to ear, and they're just the nicest guys in the world. And I mean, it's standing room only in their practices, just because they just totally focus on the soft skills. I mean, it's just all about the people, the staff. Everybody's having fun.
Exactly, and that again, that's not to say that quality doesn't. It's unimportant. Of course it is, but boy, you can't have one without the other.
And in my 52 years of life, I've witnessed a lot of people making a referral to a friend or loved one about a doctor, and then I stop and start grilling. I'm like, well, do you know where he went to school? Do you know if he's board certified? Why did you just recommend to your best friend an OBGYN? You don't even know he's board certified. You don't know if he has any fellowship. You know nothing about this guy. Oh my God, I love him. He's the sweetest guy in the world. You know, so, you know, no one's ever asked me what dental school I went to.
No, patients only have proxies to be able to judge us. The proxy is usually, did it fail? Did it work? Was the visit uncomfortable? Did the front desk lady talk nice to me? Do they act like they're happy to see me? That's really the only proxy that they can use, because they can't look in there and know, gee, that's a perfect margin, or boy, the occlusion is spot on that.
I think the only thing that every dental consultant agrees on that's spent their whole life going into dental offices, that you can tell when you walk in an office in 3 seconds if it's $1 million practice with a high net or not, because you just walk into this 20% of them and it's just feel the energy, fun, everybody's happy and they're just crushing it. And then you walk in the other 80%, it's like some library, church, engineering firm, you know. I see that in yoga too. I mean, you go to Bikram yoga and they run it just like a Catholic church. There's no talking. Your feet can only face the back. There's no, it's all serious. And if you ask the person that you came with a question, you know, you get scolded, hey, shh, no talking. And then you go to the other yogas and they're playing, you know, music and it's fun. And there's just, you know, yoga doesn't need to have the Catholic church in it, and either does your dental office. You know what I mean? So,
sure.
Yeah, I think the soft skills are everything. And I'll tell you what, if you had to pick between a dentist who had horrible skills and a great personality versus the one who did the best dentistry in the world and had a horrible personality, I'd put all my money on the one with the personality.
Yep, and it may not be fair, but that's kind of the way it works.
Oh yeah, we've all know that. Difficult patients. I've seen you post a lot on how to manage difficult patients. What are your thoughts on that?
Pulling out more stats here for you. There's not a lot of dental information out there about this, but if we look to our physician friends, they will tell you that when they track this, that about 25 to 35% of their visits are quote-unquote difficult patients. And not from the medical standpoint, from the feeling entitled, rude, angry, upset standpoint. So I got to think we're probably no different. We're probably at 25 to 35%. And it's hard. That can really ruin a day. It can ruin a day for you. It can ruin a day for your staff. And I read these are called heart sink patients. That's when your heart sinks when you see them on the schedule.
I love that, a heart sink patient.
Exactly. And it doesn't do any good. You can't fire every patient that's like that, because you're going to lose half your practice that way. So you have to learn to work with these patients and figure out why they're behaving the way they're behaving and what's going on with them. And it's really hard work, because it takes time. It takes time to talk to them and find out what's going on up here. And
it's also, I think a lot of fault goes with the dental school deans, because I tell the dean up the street, I just love my dental school dean up the street, Jack Dillenberg. He's like a 70-year-old New York hippie, who used to drive a van back in the 70s. And, and Jack agrees, Jack Dillenberg, who I think is probably the greatest dean that ever lived, him and the guy from UOP, Art Dugoni. And the fact that when you apply to dental school, if you had a girlfriend and had a couple dates a week, or maybe was in a frat, or just a well-rounded guy and made A's and B's and occasional C's, there'd be no chance you get into medical, dental school, or law school. But man, if you're a total loser geek like I was, who sat in the library, I didn't have one date in 3 years of Creighton or the first 2 years at UMKC because it was just school. And if all you do is study and have no life, no date, no nothing, you get in dental school, med school, law school. And that's why there's some of the craziest people on earth, because the selection process, and Jack says these dental schools don't want to let in the great person with a personality because it'll hurt their score of their entrance class GPA and all that crazy stuff.
Well, and this will tie in perfectly with that. These same studies that look at numbers of difficult patients, the practitioners, the physicians that have the poorest psychosocial scores, the ones that are always have what they call the most difficult patients, the highest quantity. So that it ties in perfectly hand in hand. If you're not so great on those people skills yourself, you're going to see more people as being difficult and impossible to get along with.
Oh, exactly. I mean, like the old adage says, everybody sometimes runs into an asshole. That's just a complete jerk. But, if you run into 4 or 5 of these people every single day, you're probably the asshole.
You're probably it.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with hiring staff. These introvert geek dentists, the person who passes the interview is always an introvert geek that's like subservient and yes, doctor, and yes, doctor. And you bring in some high self-esteem, well-rounded person who talks back to you like a friend, a dad, a brother, an uncle, and they just fire them. I've had more than 100 assistants tell me that sometimes they've are putting an impression in a lab box and they're looking at the impression saying, no way, we got to retake that. And she says, if I said that to my doctor, I'd be fired. And I'm like, man, that's an abusive environment. You need to quit. Yeah, tell your doctor to go fly a kite.
I want people that will tell me, Goodheart, you're full of crap on this. Yeah. You need to step back and think about this for a second.
It's true. It's true. The dentists who are the most humble, by listening to their staff and their patients, always do the most successful. And the ones that are the most arrogant are usually the ones that are completely insane.
Yep. I find it interesting, and this is probably completely contrary, but when dentists are having trouble, oftentimes the first thing is, more CE, broaden your treatment, what the things that you can do, your procedures. And probably the first thing that they ought to do is forget that stuff and take some things on being able to talk to people, talk to patients, find out what's going on in their lives and what might fit for them, and learn how to talk with staff and collaborate with staff. Do the clinical stuff second. Do that other stuff first, and I would bet that they would see good success from that.
So, Tim, how old are you?
I'm 53.
53, so I'm 52. We're the same age, same dental school. Everything's the same with us. What would you tell the dentists listening to this? So after these things have been up for a couple of months, you're going to get about 1,000 views on Dental Town, about 300 on YouTube, and about 2,500 on iTunes. So iTunes is the most. So more people aren't seeing you right now. So keep that in mind when you're talking to these guys. What would you say to that dentist who's got this in his smartphone? He's got a Bluetooth. He's driving to work. He's got an hour commute to work. And he's saying, Tim, in all honesty, man, I'm friggin' burned out, man. I've been doing this for 10 or 20 years. I swear to God, if I won the lottery, I'd never see another patient. I'm burned out. I'm fried. I'm tired of the entitled patients. I'm tired of telling someone they got these 5 cavities because they drink Mountain Dew all day and never take care of their teeth, and they think their boss or a mama should pay for it. My staff, every time the earth goes around the sun, they want another $1 an hour. The insurance is denying everything. It's like everyone's beating me up. What would you tell that guy?
It's hard, and we talk about that on the message board a lot. Hardly a day comes up that those questions don't come up. It's a really difficult thing for me, and this probably isn't everybody, but for me, kind of the key is when I recognized that in talking to patients and seeing patients and dealing with my staff, it's not about me, it's about them. It's truly about them. I got to find out what's going on in their head. The more I've done this, the more I realize this is just psychology. Yeah, we fix teeth and we're doing things and we got our technical skills, but it is psychology. Yeah, that's probably the biggest realization I've come to.
And it's the same thing with the hygienists. I mean, the hygienists are always getting frustrated with their patients, and I've got my 3 hygienists after 8 years of, that they realize that it's not what you're doing to their teeth. It's not what you scraping, cleaning, fluoride treatment, whatever. It's what you're motivating them to do. If you can motivate them to want to get up and brush and floss every morning and every night, just like a coach. Remember, like I also believe with boys that the sport that they're drawn to, they weren't drawn to the sport. They were exposed to many sports. They got sucked into the one where a coach had leadership skills and was motivating them and making them feel better about themselves. I mean, my God, my mom had put me in baseball, football, every sport known to man, but I just stumbled into wrestling, and Coach Hager I got up and ran 5 miles before school started for Coach Hager. I wasn't even doing it for me. I mean, I wanted to see his proud look when I told him I did my 5 miles this morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how you got to treat dentists and patients and staff, and just motivate them to want to be a better person in dentistry, a better patient, a better everything.
It's sort of a game. I mean, I think I've heard you talk about, you'd rather do endo than go golf because you enjoy it more. It's sort of a game. You kind of play that game. Okay, I tried this motivation with this employee or person. That didn't really work. What's a different way I can look at it? How can I approach this different? It's a game. It's a game to try and figure out how you can get them to go in the direction you want them to go.
And life's an attitude, because I'm sure in the back of my head, I mean, golf's hard, molar endo's hard, but one of them gives me $1,000 when I do it. The other one costs me $300, out here in Phoenix. So a lot of it is an attitude. Don't you agree?
It is. And
I mean, if that dentist sit in his car and he's burned out and fried, he could say the same thing about his marriage. He could say the same thing about his parents, family, friends. I mean, a lot of it's just getting in the right frame of mind.
You get in the right frame of mind, and I think you've got to take the time away and do some other things. Obviously, you can't do dentistry 6-7 days a week, for sure. But you got to come in and take a couple deep breaths, and there's that heart sink patient, and let's see what we can do with her today.
You know what? If you want to see some real data on the guys that work 6 days a week, you know what's amazing on the data? On Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, after they come off a refresh weekend, they go in there and they see a cavity. Oh, you need an MO, and I got time to do that in my schedule, and blah, blah, blah. Starting by Thursday afternoon, they go in there. Oh, well, let's just watch that. Just put a watch. Sure. And by Friday, someone comes in with an abscess, and they're like, give them some penicillin and Vicodin, and and it's like, really, dude, you're treating a toothache with antibiotics when there's no research in the world that says that's going to do what an extraction or root canal would be. So so the guys who hit it hard, just hit it hard 3 days a week, usually net more money than the guys who are hitting it 5 and 6 days a week. Yeah,
many years ago, I went from 5 days a week to 4 days a week because my staff kind of was like, "Why don't we try this?" And revenue went up.
So you were 5 hours, 8 to 5, now 4. Did you do 4 10-hour days versus 5 8-hour days, or did you actually do less hours?
We do less hours.
What were your hours at 5 days a week, and what are your hours at 4 days a week?
We were 8 to 5, 5 days a week. Went to 4 days from 7:30 to 4:30, but Tuesdays we don't start till 10:30, something like that. So
is that because you're hungover from Monday Night Football?
Yeah, from Monday Night Football.
Oh my God!
But yeah, it's technically fewer hours, and
you're doing more money.
Yeah,
You're doing
Revenue
more
went up.
production. Yeah, revenue went up. And it's, I mean, at the end of the day, humans, it's just all about motivation.
And I've heard that from numerous people on the message board, the same thing.
Okay, so you and I have lived half a century, and we've served our sovereign profession, dentistry, well. So then what do you say to that? Next month, Timmy, 5,000 kids are going to walk out of a dental school. So I'm gonna just hit you hard with specifics. Does this dentist need to have a CBCT to be a quality dentist? Does this person need a laser? He's bitching about his $250,000 dental school loans. Does he need to buy a $150,000 CERAC on those? So I'm going to pin you to those three. Do I need to buy, after all these student loans, do I need a $150,000 3D x-ray machine? Do I need an $80,000 laser? Do I need a $150,000 CAD cam to be a quality dentist like Tim Goodheart?
I don't think you have to have those to be quality. There are things that people have come to expect. I think one of the biggest frustrations for dentists is not matching their skill and their passion with their location. I think too many people try and practice a type of dentistry in the wrong spot. If you're going to do those things, if you're going to do the CBCT, the CERAC and all that, you need to find the spot where people are going to value that, where there's the treatment to be done. Where I'm at, sitting right here in my little Raytown, Missouri, those things are not necessary. That doesn't mean they're not good, they're just not necessary. That's not my demographic. My demographic.
Do you have those three?
No, I don't. Yeah. I've got several lasers, but no. I dabbled in CERAC for a short time. It just didn't fit for me, not because of it was my practice model, not the technology. Cone beam, I just don't have a use for that. I mean, for me, it's dentures, it's fillings, it's crowns, partials, root canals. That's where I'm at, and that suits me well. And my demographic fits my temperament and what I'm wanting to do. And I think the biggest upset for dentists is not matching their skills and what they see for themselves with their location. They're trying to do the wrong things in the wrong place.
Yeah, it'd be like, would you take a Mercedes-Benz and a Porsche dealership into Childress, Texas? Yeah. I mean, exactly. In Childress, Texas, you might get hit if you're not driving a Ford or a Chevy. You could be punched. You could be hurt. I mean, it's all demographics. And there's 190 countries around the world, and they're all demographics and all that stuff. And I think it's true that you're true to yourself, you're true to your demographics, you're true to your patients. And don't you think a lot of dentists sometimes feel shamed or dirty if they're not doing going to the Pink Institute and taking full models and mounting them on an articulator and getting a CBCT and getting all these things, and sure. they're in Parsons, Kansas? Sure. Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people don't notice on Dental Town, like people won't post amalgams. Right. Because it's like, if you did it, I mean, they'd rather admit that they did crack with a hooker last night than that they did a DO amalgam. I mean, isn't that crazy? It is crazy. Yeah, it is batshit crazy. So Tim, what would your advice be? Let's say that your daughter graduates next month on May, and she just came out of UMKC Dental School. What advice would you give your daughter? Oh, gosh. I've probably given too much advice on the message board over the year with 22,000 posts. Again, would you recommend? Let me back up further. What if your daughter was was in undergrad, and she says, "Dad, I'm thinking about declaring a biology major and being a dentist just like you"? What would you tell her? When I first came out of dental school, my first 10 years of practice, I probably would have said, "Go for it." The problem is now is debt has gotten to be huge. So that's a definite consideration. You have to look at how much are you willing to go into debt for this career? And it has gotten really pricey. That's a big load to carry. I have a couple of new dentists, or not close to me, but fairly nearby, and I've gone out to lunch with them a couple of times, and that's something that is really at the top of their mind, is how am I going to service this school loan, this school debt? And unfortunately, they don't see themselves owning a practice very soon. And I'm not sure they're given the skills. But that's coupled with a 100 other bad decisions they make. Like they,
exactly.
I mean, I'll tell you what, seriously, every time I do a missionary dental trip, there's at least a dozen other dental students there. Dr. Dillenberg, he pays and subsidizes his dental students to go on missionary trips. He, they raise money, blah, blah. But I mean, you sit there and listen to these kids at night, and it's like every spring break, they take $3,000 of student loan money and they go to the Caribbean. They go on Carnival cruises. They drive $30,000 cars. I mean, I didn't have a car. 3 years of Creighton undergrad, and the first 3 years of dental school, I walked my 6 blocks to the dental school and I worked. And then they marry a woman who is never going to have a job in her whole life and thinks she married a rich dentist or doctor or lawyer and just blows money out. So I look at the 60-year-old dentist and I think of all the stupid financial mistakes they made. Probably graduating from dental school debt was probably the best one. Their debts. They live in houses bigger than their office. They drive cars. I mean, how come I have more money than most of the dentists I know, and I drive a 2004 SUV that has 106,000 miles on it, and I don't own a watch?
You're right.
I don't have a boat. I don't have a jet ski. I don't have a cabin because I'm smart enough to know I'm not going to buy a boat. I can find a friend with a boat in 3 minutes. Why would I want to own the boat?
Well, they say boat stands for bring out another 1,000. But to better answer your question, probably what I'd tell that person is find the location that matches the kind of dentistry that you want to do. Get busy. Don't believe you have to buy every piece of technology tomorrow. Learn how to talk to your patients. Learn how to talk with your staff, and you'll do fine.
And can I tell you the biggest scam on the CBCT, the 3D X-ray machine? Every specialist on earth wants to court and date the general dentist, and they don't know, and they're introvert geeks, so they don't know if they should call you up for lunch or they should bring you cookies, or if it's Valentine's Day, send heart. They don't really know what to do because they're not social maniacs. There's not a specialist in Phoenix that has a CBCT that if you call them and say, "Hey, Dr. Goodheart, I have a patient needs CBCT. Is there any way me or my assistant Jan can take the patient?" And 100% will say yes.
Yep.
That's what I
do. That's what I do. I've got an oral surgeon in Lee Summit, and I just call him up. Hey, I want to get a picture of this guy. Send him on over.
And how much does he charge you?
He doesn't charge me anything.
I know.
Because I don't do it very often.
So why is it that you... Yeah.
I don't do it very often, and I probably send him, I don't know how many wisdom teeth and stuff in a year I send him. I mean, he's my primary referral.
Yeah. So why do people spend $150,000 on a machine that has zero cost to them from any of their referring doctors and even their non-referring doctors? I mean, some of the best endo CE. I want to talk to you about CE because their Dental Town has 307 online CE courses. They've been viewed 500,000 times.
Yep.
But another form of CE is hands-on lectures. Going to a class like the Pank Institute or the Scottsdale Center or LVI. And then there's the third type, which is my favorite. My favorite type of CE is still calling up a referring doctor or one of the specialists in my neighborhood, like in Phoenix. You call up Brad Gilliman, you say, he's like the greatest endodontist in town. You say, "Hey, can I come watch you do endo?" These guys never say no. Sure. You can call up an oral surgeon and say, "Can I watch you place some implants?" "Oh yeah, Friday I'm sinking 6 in the maxillary sinus. Can I come watch?" I've never got to know.
Yeah,
that's actually my favorite.
They want to show you.
Sorry, that was one of my 4 boys. But go ahead.
No, they want to show you. They want to show you their stuff.
Yeah. So talk to the viewer out there, pros and cons. What do you say the main differences between online CE at Dental Town versus taking a class versus calling your local periodontist, endodontist, oral surgeon?
Well, yeah, that's interesting, and I'd be interested to get your view on that. It just seems like live CE is just dying to a great extent. You can go online and find how you can watch how to do almost anything on YouTube or some other video. You can find procedures for almost anything if you wanted, and do it right at your desk. It just seems like live CE is just becoming less and less and less over time.
And is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know that it's good or bad. I just think it's the way it is. You know, once upon a time, if you wanted to learn how to do something, you had to go to the master. You had to find him, seek him out, and go wherever he was. Now you can do it on your screen.
I think it's amazing. You know, there's book smart and street smart, and the book smart people don't have a brain in their head. And if they want to learn one little thing on occlusion, they have to spend $5,000 at a weekend course, fly across the country, and stay at a resort, and they come home with 1 page of notes. And then there's the street smart people who can just figure out everything for a 1-hour course on Dental Town for $18 and learn all. I noticed that what I find my 4 boys doing is like you're changing a tire on a friend's car, and no one knows where the pack is. So they go right to YouTube. Where is the tire changing kit in a 1995 Honda Accord? Boom, right there. I was talking to a patient in my chair who repairs aircraft engines. And I said, well, where'd you go to school for that, and where do you learn? He goes, well, all that really doesn't matter because I don't care what jet engine you're working on. Whenever you get stuck at a part, you just go to YouTube and say, where is the fan, high speed, blah, hydraulic, blah, blah, blah. And then 9 videos pop up, and you just start watching it. And there's the engine I'm working on made by General Electric or Rolls-Royce. I type in my exact question, and Google says the searches are growing about 5% a year in length. So they're getting longer and more detailed. I mean, people no longer just type in Raytown dentist to see if your website shows up. They're going, I want a dentist in Raytown who works on kids, who does tooth whitening. And, you know, I mean, the keywords are growing. So sure. back to online CE. What do you think the pros and cons are for online CE versus live?
I think I like online CE because you can get right to the point and get to the things that you're interested in. There's still a great collegiality about going to a live CE, talking to people from other parts of the country, seeing how they do things, get you out of the office. I think that's good to not always be stuck at your desk or in the office. But boy, it's hard to beat for time savings and money to just dial it up. Watch it on the big screen at home.
Yeah, absolutely. I think looking back at my career, what I take away the most from CE was the friendships. I mean, the friendships, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember I still only think of going to the Carl missions as meeting Carl and the guy sitting next to me, Steve Rasner. I think of going to the Gordon Christian's 12 2-day courses was meeting my buddy Mike Totola. I mean, I go to the local study clubs here because it's the same guys you've been sitting by for 25, 28 years, and it's that friendship and camaraderie. So, what would you tell a dentist who saying to you, my office is flat? To me, I've been doing the same $40,000 a month. Or 30,000, whatever the number is, I'm flat. I've been flat for a decade. I would like to see I'd like to go from 30,000 a month to 40, or 40 to 50, or 50 to 60. I want to grow revenue. I'm servicing a lot of debt. I'm servicing a high lifestyle. I got a wife at home destroying, $5,000 a month. If I want to hide something from my wife, I put it in the oven. She doesn't cook. Blah blah blah. I need $10,000 or more a month in revenue. What would you tell that dentist?
What I would say is you got to sit down and find out what's your new patient flow like, what kind of treatment plans are you presenting, what's your acceptance on those treatment plans. When you treatment plan something, how long is it taking you to get that person in and get things done? If any of those things are on the low end, then you got to step back and figure out why that is. Do people just not know I'm there? Am I hidden back in a corner of a strip mall somewhere and no one has any idea I'm there? Am I not diagnosing things that are there? Am I not doing a good job of talking to people and finding out what's going to fit for them and what kind of treatment we can do for them? That's where I would start. not necessarily start with, okay, I need to expand my horizons and start doing more ortho or more this or more that. Figure out why it's at a low ebb with the people that you've got. How can you get more people, and how can you talk with more people to do more dentistry?
Okay, so let's go. Those are awesome points. Let's go one by one. The first thing you said is new patients. What's the low-hanging fruit on trying to get more new patients? What's your experience?
I'm very lucky in that I sit right on a corner of Raytown Road, which is a main traffic way through here. And gosh, I don't know, the last I checked, it's been a number of years, something like 8,000 cars a day go by this spot. I get a lot of people simply because of a sign that they can see as they drive by.
Are you in a commercial center or a medical dental building?
It's just a commercial center. There's next door to me is a dental lab. Across from me is a hearing aid place, a tax place, and I'm on the corner right by the road, so they see me. That's my number. That's okay, my number one.
But I would say for the viewers, Timmy is infamous for a positive guy with a great attitude. I mean, but the bottom line is he's not lucky because he lives in Kansas City. That has a dental school that cranks out, what, 50 dentists a year? I mean, Kansas City is flooded with dentists.
They're at 100 now.
Oh, 100 a year. So Timmy, the bottom line is you're in a market that's killed by a dental school releasing 100 new dentists a year in a city that's only growing by 1 or 2% in population here. So you're saying in a very competitive market like that, a very visible location is important.
Visible location, and I'm in a blue collar area. You know, again, fillings, dentures, root canals. I don't have to compete with Johnson County.
Yeah. You know, when I came to Phoenix, you know, everybody's saying, oh, you're going to go to Scottsdale? You're going to go to Scottsdale? And I said, dude, I'm from Wichita, Kansas. I don't even like those people. I'm going to Phoenix. And people say, well, where in Phoenix? Are you going to Paradise Valley or Sun City or Sun Lakes or Scottsdale? And I said, no, I'm going to Phoenix. They're like, you're actually going to Phoenix? And I'm like, yeah, those are my homies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just relate to Phoenix people 10 times more. I mean, when I walk into a party in Scottsdale and some dentist says to me, oh, do you know Dr. So-and-so? I'll say, which one is he? And he tells me the name of the shoe. I'm like, looking at him like, dude, there's 3 guys standing over there and you want me to look at the one I'm supposed to know the name brand of a shoe? In Kansas, that's just not the way it was.
No, and that's what I talk about, finding a spot that's suitable. That fits my personality.
Yeah. And I also see the people that are crushing it in like cosmetic dentistry, they're those kind of people like in Beverly Hills. I mean, Dorfman, I mean, he's totally Mr. Hollywood. I mean, in Scottsdale, we had a guy here for years, Steve Hayes, but I mean, he had the taste for clothing and cars and you know, he was that type of guy.
Yeah.
So if I would have gone up to Scottsdale, a hillbilly from Kansas, and competed with guys like that, I wouldn't fit the part anyway. I
couldn't play that role. I would be a miserable failure at it.
Yeah. So you said new patients. Okay. Next was treatment planning. Are you talking about diagnosing? I mean, is treatment planning a science? Like, if I sent a person with a mouthful of pathologies to 100 dentists, would they all get the same treatment plan?
No, I'm a big believer in. I've learned a lot of this from Paul Homily. I think he's a good resource. Is, you know, he likes to say, ride the horse in the direction it's going. So, you know, you find out why that patient is there. What are his biggest concerns? Try and address those first. Don't try and overwhelm him with the 19 other things you see. Why is he there? Address his concerns and ride that horse in the direction it's going.
I love that saying, ride the horse in the direction. And I love Paul Homily, man. That guy is an amazing person.
He's got a lot of good information.
I have had a new paradigm shift, you might call, in treatment plan presentation. I used to believe that, you know, if you presented 100 cavities, the national average is 38 out of 100 are drilled, filled, and billed. So about 1/3's done. And that, you know, that if you're treatment plan acceptance was lower than that. You need to work on the presentation. And then Blatchford comes along and says that he tracks that you're only going to do 1/3 of the dentistry anyway. So if you want to double your production, double your presentation. So if you want to do $1 of dentistry, you're going to have to present 3. So if you want to do twice as much dentistry, you got to present 6. I find that to be very interesting. And
yeah, that is.
Yeah. So if someone comes in, you're not going to do any Invisalign if you don't present it to anyone.
Right.
And you're probably going to have to recommend it to 3 people to do 1. And that when he goes in and coaches an office, he tries to increase their presentation of, explain more options available, and you're going to do about 1/3 of whatever you present. I found that to be very interesting.
And I don't disagree with that, but you've got to look at fit. Where is that person at in their life right now? Maybe they're interested in Invisalign, but not right now. They may have a kid a year from graduating college. They may have a job that's tenuous. They may be getting divorced. Where are they at in their life? And that doesn't mean that you're never going to do those things, but it may go on a back burner. You're building stacks that you can, I can't tell you how many times I've mentioned the same tooth to the same person 3 hygiene visits in a row, 4 hygiene visits in a row. And finally, that 5th time when you bring it up, they go, yeah, you know what? Kid's out of the house. Mortgage is paid for. I'm ready to do some things with my teeth. And if you haven't run them off, now you're set to go. Now you've got a good patient. They're ready to roll.
So Tim, I want to tie you down to some more specifics. There's 5,000 kids. This is what is this? April 29th. There's 5,000 kids that are going to roll out of school in 30 days, and the number one question they're telling me is should they do a residency or not. You did a residency. What would you What would you tell those seniors out there that are listening to this? They're heavy hot podcast users about your thoughts on a residency. Looking back 25 years after graduation, was your residency a good thing, or would you have done it differently?
I did a GPR at the VA here in town, and it was the best thing I could have done. I had wonderful staff there. They truly treated us as a learning place. We got to go to the OR for extractions. We got to do crown and bridge as much as we wanted, dentures as much as we wanted. It so much prepared me for private practice in the real world. I know a lot of people that do residencies, it's not so good. They get into situations where they're just kind of treated as glorified hygiene help or whatnot. But for me, it was an excellent thing, and I couldn't recommend it strongly enough.
So then you also, after that, you went on to get your AGD and then your MBA. I mean, you got your fellowship in the AGD. Tell what did that do for you? Do you recommend getting your FAGD? Do you think a dentist out there that's maybe been flat for 10 years, maybe burned out, do you think that dentist should set a goal and say, hey, I should set a goal to become a fellowship in the Academy of General Dentistry?
I think the AGD is an excellent organization. I think it's wonderful. It does a lot of great things for dentists. Having that CE goal is a great thing, and I have nothing but admiration for people that have their MAGD. That's a lot of work. And it was a lot of fun when I went to the convocation after getting the fellowship. And the people that were there getting their masters conferred on them, you could just see they were extremely proud of it, as they should be. It's a very worthy accomplishment, excellent thing to do. I wish more dentists joined the AGD. I think it's a great organization.
But tell them why, though. Specifically, why, though? Why should a dentist join the AGD, and why exactly should a dentist get their fellowship in the Academy of General Dentistry?
They're there for the general dentist. They're going to help guide you along that path as they've got the categories that you need to study in, so you can't just get everything in one particular area. You're going to get a nice broad coverage of all different areas: orthodontics, oral surgery, special needs, the whole 9 yards. And I think that does a really good thing to kind of recharge the batteries. It kind of opens your eyes to some possibilities and things that a person might not have thought of previously.
I agree that the best thing of the FAGD is putting structure in your education, because look at Dental Town. I mean, I'm looking at the data. Those 307 courses have been viewed 500,000 times. I mean, they just keep doing fillings and crowns, fillings and crowns, fillings and crowns. I mean, they do the same 4 things: fillings, crowns, CAD/CAM, root canals, over and over until just running the face. And then you put up any course outside of that, especially if it was on practice management or business, and it's like the course is infected with HPV or something. I mean, it's like, and so I want to talk about that next, because you also went on to get your MBA. I did. And looking back, are you glad you did that? Is that something you'd recommend? Why? It was good first of all. It was
the reason I did it is I was tired of going to my accountant's office and not understanding at all what the hell he was telling me. So it was mostly a self-preservation thing. And I didn't do it with the intent of actually doing it. I took a few courses and learned a little bit more, and pretty soon I'm halfway, and I thought, what the heck, let's just go ahead and finish this.
Was it online or was it?
It was online.
Yeah, and how long did it take you to earn that?
I did it in 2.5 years.
And 2.5 years later, do you feel like you understand business more than when you started?
Yeah, I do. You're going to understand, and you've done it, you're going to understand numbers, you're going to understand strategy better. Heck, just being able to read a P&L statement and put all those things together. So now when I go to my accountant, I actually understand what he's telling me, and it makes a whole lot more sense. Is it imperative to become a good business person in dentistry? No, not at all. But if a person has an interest, go for it.
Now, are you using a CPA that's just a friend, neighbor, or are you using one of those? There's now 2 big organizations of CPAs that just do dentistry. I mean, on the message board, like Tim Goodhart's in one of the. I mean, Tim Lott's in one of those. Are you dealing with a CPA in one of these dental CPA groups, or are you just using an individual CPA?
I use an individual, but he has numerous physicians, optometrists, veterinarians, dentists. So it's not new at all for him. I've been with the same guy for 15 years now.
Yeah, I want to say to the viewers out there that a lot of dentists are stressed out because they'll go to a study club or they'll go to something, they'll hear people talking about their numbers and they feel inadequate or they're not as good or whatever. And I just want to assure you that no matter what a dentist says their numbers are, when you go actually look at their numbers, there's no relation between what they told you. I mean, it's just they don't even know their number. Like those, like, well, my labor is only 20%. Does that include FICA matching? Does that include the medical insurance? Does that include they don't know any of their numbers. Even when it comes to overhead, I mean, half the guys that say their overhead's 50%, you dig into it, it's 68%. You're like, dude, you said it was 50% and it's 68%. They're like, well, I mean, 50, 60, I mean, and it's like, no, it's not even 50, 60, it's 68. Well, I mean, in that range. Really? An 18% error is in that range? Was that the way they graded your math test in algebra? So yeah, I just can't recommend enough. I see so many dentists in such financial trouble, and they don't understand money. That's why they have so much debt, because they emotionally are secreting dopamine or serotonin as they're signing a lease on a new Mercedes or buying a big house. It's making them feel good. And they don't realize that every time they spend a shitload of money, that they're going to pay for that in blood, sweat, tears, and stress and agony and all that kind of stuff. And they need to, the first thing they need to do is just cut their consumption down, learn to be happy cooking dinner, not having to go spend $200 going out to eat. Learn, sure. I still think, I've told so many people, they'll saying, well, I'm looking at new cars. I'm like, why are you looking at new cars? Well, mine's paid for and it's old and this, that. I said, usually in a healthy mind, the minute you have to stop making a car payment, you should now like love your car even more. Don't you like your car now that it's paid for? Why would you want to trade this car that you've had a relationship with 5 years and go buy a new one just because it's not paid out? So Tim, if someone's thinking about an MBA, were there any books that you've read along the way that helped you with business, that kind of nurtured your love for business, that drew you into an MBA? Any business books or favorite authors or anything these young kids could read?
I'm big on a guy by the name of Marcus Buckingham. I don't know if you've heard of him or not.
Marcus Buckingham. He sounds British with bad teeth.
He is British, but he has good teeth, actually. He's a showman. Marcus Buckingham is very good. I love to read books.
What was the title of Marcus Buckingham?
He's got 4 or 5 different books. Strength Finder, Discover Your Strengths. There's 4 or 5 of them. He's really good. I love to read any book that is written by a successful CEO or person that's run a business. I find those guys fascinating.
I just wrote a book on business. My new book is called Uncomplicate Business. And I'm not even saying I'm a dentist on there because you know what my mission was on writing my book? My mission was I have a granddaughter now. I wanted a little girl when we got married, and I had 4 boys, and then they got a vasectomy. And now I finally got my little daughter, a granddaughter. And my intellectual thought a couple years ago was someday I'm going to die before a granddaughter or great-granddaughter is born. I won't know what business she's going to go into. I don't know if she's going to be a dentist, a vet, own a restaurant, bowling alley. I have no idea. And so I reduced business to uncomplicate business. You only manage 3 things: people, time, and money. And I took every column I'd written from 94 to 2015 and looked at it and rewrote it. And I have written a masterpiece for business, no matter what business you're in, because at the end of the day, we just manage people, time, and money. And it's,
there you go.
You make something, you sell something, you watch the numbers. I would love for you to read my book and tell me what you think. If I send you this, will you read my book?
Absolutely. I would look forward to it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Send this to Timmy Goodheart. I'd love to hear your feedback. I'm going to stick that in the mail today to see what your thoughts are.
I look forward to it.
So what other books have had an impact on your business thinking?
Oh gosh, I can look at my library back here. Coaching and Mentoring for Dummies. That's a good one. Crucial Conversations.
Crucial Conversations about what? What topic?
It's just how to have difficult conversations with people.
Yeah, I always think that's funny on in your personal lives, how everybody wants to have all these opinions on someone like the President of the United States. You know, like they're like, oh, Obama should do this, that, and that. I'm like, oh, really? So Obama should cut spending, and you think he should just tell 1/3 of a billion people they need to have less benefits and cut spending on that stuff? Why don't you turn right now to your wife and tell her to cut spending? Oh, I'm not going to touch that. It's like, oh, so you can backseat drive the President of the United States, but you can't backseat drive spouse, kids, mom, sisters, your dental assistant, your hygienist. So yeah, difficult conversations are difficult for pack animals. We're social animals, so we want to please everybody, and it's hard to have a difficult conversation, especially with someone you love.
It is. It's hard. Here's one thing that I read many years ago that's very true. It's actually pretty easy to fire somebody. I mean, you fire them, and you've got an uncomfortable 2 or 3 minutes, and then it's done. It's over. What's hard is to have a tough conversation with a staff member, spouse, whatever, and come back the next day and figure out a way to work with them.
So what advice have you? Because these dental school graduates, I think the biggest danger to a dental school graduate is when you sit there for 7, 8, 9 years and you get A's in calculus and physics and geometry and physiology and anatomy. You think you're all that, and you really don't have any experience on interviewing people, managing people, leading people, motivating people, and it's just a people game. And so just because you got 100% on your physics test, and now you have a hygienist that you're gonna have to deal with all day, every day, and you have no training for that.
Absolutely. And I have just been looking for sources and sources and sources. And in the last year, and this is not to plug them, it's just because I think it's a good organization. There's an organization called the American Academy for Communication in Healthcare.
Wow.
Wonderful organization. Wonderful for how to manage the psychology of patients, your team, your staff, colleagues.
Are you a member?
I am.
Where are they based out of?
Louisville.
Louisville. I spent a summer in Louisville. My dad had 9 restaurants in 4 states, and one of them was in Louisville, Kentucky. I spent a summer there. Do you know the is there like a founder, or is it a president, or? It's
a nonprofit. The gal that I've worked with there is just a gal named Lori. But yeah, it's the American Academy on Communication in Healthcare. Wonderful resource.
So I want to. I've only got you for 5 more minutes. Well, first of all, if you can get Lori or the executive director or the president or whatever to write an article or whatever, send it to Dentaltown.
Sure.
If Tim Goodheart, FAGD, MBA, 20,000 posts on Dentaltown says it's good, I want to know more about it. So Tim, you're an extremist in the fact that on Dentaltown, what we see, and it's not just Dentaltown. I've read lots of research on communities in general, where, and I don't care if it's a programmer's website, dermatologists, engineers, mechanical, silver, dentistry, it doesn't matter. But on Dentaltown, you have this 1%, they're called super users like you, or Mike Barr, or Howard Goldstein, or myself, that have 20,000 posts. And you got 95% of the townies who go on there and they spend hours and they'll never comment, they'll never post, and you just want to walk up and say, boo. What would you say to those lurkers who have a question and they really want to ask you, but there's just something in their constitution where they just are afraid to just start a thread and say, I exist and this is me and here's my question. What would you say to that person who's dying to ask a question, but they just cannot find it within themselves to do it? And then there's a guy like you at 22,000 posts.
Well, part of it is sometimes I guess I can't shut up. So that's a personal thing. Just put it out there. Just put it out there. Gosh, the resources and the people on Dentaltown, there are so many smart people on Dentaltown. There's literally not a day that I don't go out there and I'm not humbled by something going, holy crap, that is really a smart dude that's saying that there. And just put yourself out there and, you'll get some good answers, you'll get some bad answers, but you will get stuff that is helpful. Absolutely.
But Tim, there's something. It's everything I read. It's something in their site. They're afraid. They're afraid of saying something. Would you recommend that they be anonymous or their name?
Be anonymous. You can be absolutely anonymous.
Yeah. Well, but they're just afraid. And the same thing with programmers, engineers, whatever. Why do you think they're afraid? And what do they have to get over?
Oh, I think part of it in dentistry is just kind of the way we're taught in dental school. Dental school is a bit of a beat down. I don't know if you remember John Killip at the dental school.
Yeah.
I had him for 3 years. I had him for 2 years of before clinic and then in clinic. And he always started a project the same way. He'd always look at it and go, here's what I see wrong. So I think dentists are used to kind of a beat down and used to looking at the bad side of things. So be anonymous. Just put it out there anonymous. We take on the message board very seriously people's anonymity, and if they want to be anonymous, they will stay anonymous.
And you know what I still say publicly, and I've gotten the most abuse for saying that people just can't believe it. Say, I've always said my joke that, if you go to study club, the first idiot stands up and says, I trim my own dies, I'm the best dentist. And the next dentist, not to be outdone, says, I quarry my own stone, pour up my own models, then trim my own dies. And the third idiot's like, I have my own beehive, I grow my own wax, I quarry my own stone, I trim my own dies. It takes me, in dentistry, it's like the hardest thing in the world, and you think you're the greatest. And I am never, ever going to beat myself up and redo a filling or send it back to the lab for someone that doesn't brush, floss, came into my office with a Mountain Dew. I mean, if you come in and I'm never going to care more about your teeth than you do. And if you come in and you don't give a rat's ass about your teeth and I give you floss, you never use it, and I do a filling and it's just not slightly perfect, I'm not going to beat myself up and redo it. You don't even give a shit. If you don't give a shit, why should I? And that just totally lowers my stress. Now, if I was working on you and someone comes, or a hygienist or someone that really, really cares, my God, I will bust out all the bells and whistles. I got all my, I know what the hell I'm doing, but I am not going to sit there and miss my lunch and go home late for some hillbilly who brought a Mountain Dew into the operatory.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I just lower my stress.
Yep. And that, I wish I could remember who the townie was, but that was an eye-opening moment. Many years ago, he put that on the message board that, you know, some people get A work, some people get C work, and some people get B work, and that's okay, because that's where they're at.
So how's UMKC these days? I don't live in the town. They got a new dean. That Dean Reed's gone, right? And they got a
Dean Reed is thankfully gone. He was not a nice guy.
He wasn't even a dentist, was he?
He was a BDS.
So he was a dentist.
Yeah, he was the British version.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know. I never saw him in the clinic one time.
And guess what? I was there 4 years, and I don't think I saw him in the clinic one time either.
Yeah. So how's the school now? What would you say about? How would you summarize the school now?
You know, I haven't been down to the school in a while. Unfortunately, their CE programs are not good at all. They don't have much going on there. I would love to say something different. And I actually haven't even been in the school in about 6 years.
Huh. Okay. Well, hey,
yeah,
we're out of time. It is 1 hour. I want to tell you, seriously, in the last 15 years, so many times you've made me laugh out loud, spit out my coffee, taught me information, made me look at things different. I mean, you've just been a major part of my experience with Dentaltown. I mean, dude, you're 22,000 posts. You can't go a day without reading a Tim Goodheart post. I love you to death. I feel like you're a brother. And I know if I'm feeling this way, there's thousands and thousands of townies. I bet so many townies will want to watch this just to put the face, the karma behind 22,000 posts. You're a legend in my mind, dude. Thank you so much for all that you've done for dentistry, but also for Dentaltown.
Thanks for having me, and much appreciation to you too. Met many, many, many wonderful people and clinicians because of Dentaltown. Can't beat that.
Who are your other most favorite townies?
Oh gosh, obviously love Hogo. You know, it's funny, Hogo and I, many, many years ago, we're about as far apart politically as you can get, and we would argue on the message board. And finally met him, and he kind of said, "Hey, how would you like to be a moderator?" And here I sit now.
Both you guys are passionate dudes.
Love Hogo. I hesitate because I'd probably miss somebody, but Steve Glass is a great guy. John Nosty is a great guy. Mark Fleming is a great guy. It's just so many wonderful, wonderful, smart clinicians out there.
Well, then I'm going to give you a task. You don't need one, but those people you recommended, for tell them I wanted to podcast them. I've done Nosty. Yep. I haven't done Fleming, and I haven't done Steven. Will you tell them that you did? I want to do that next.
Sure.
So who's most funny? Who's made you laugh out loud the most? Who's known for the most wildest, outlandish, funniest post?
Do you know Shanks?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's everybody loves Shanks. Marty's a funny guy.
Marty, I think Marty's the funniest dentist that ever lived. He's down in Florida.
Yep. Those two guys are always good for a laugh.
So as a moderator, who makes you work the hardest? Who's in trouble? Who are you giving a timeout the most or have to give a spanking to?
Shanks and Marty. No.
And I want to say one thing to you and Hogo and Steven and you guys is that Dentaltown, before you guys, I did not understand cyberbully. I didn't. That was one of my biggest errors on Dentaltown. I thought I wasn't going to have anybody edit any posts because I figured you're all adults, you're all dentists. I'm not going to be your mommy. And I did not understand bullying. I never experienced in school. I never was a bully. And there were just some people building up that were just, it seemed like the only thing they like doing is saying mean things. And he'll go cut me on like what, 4 or 5 years ago, and we put that report abuse on there, and you spend so many countless hours, you and Howard Goldstein and Steven and so many that the patients are beating us up, the insurance companies are beating us, staff's beating up, and a lot of the dentists still out there think that, well, I have freedom of speech. Dude, the Constitution is only for between you and the government. You can't come in my house with free speech. Dentaltown is a private party, and guys like you, Timmy, and Howard Goldstein keep the party going. And if someone's being a jerk or drank too much, you show them the door. And thank you for all the countless gazillion hours you spent keeping the party going in a fun way.
You're more than welcome, and that's what's got a lot of the lurkers to start to post is kind of cleaning that up a little bit.
Yeah, and you guys, if you post if someone says something that makes you feel bad, we can debate whether Tim Goodhart's better looking because he has hair and I don't have hair. We can debate weight. If you think I'm 300 pounds, I can get on the scales and show you I'm only a rocking hot 208. But you can't debate feelings. If someone makes you feel bad, they make you feel bad. And if someone's making you feel bad on Dentaltown, hit that report abuse. And Timmy here and Howard Goldstein and Steven and others will look at that. And if a guy's being a jerk, you guys give him a warning. And we play baseball. It's 3 strikes and you're out. And with 195,000 members, it's not like we need a member. If your only goal there is to make people feel bad, we don't need you. We don't want you.
I mean, my whole thing is remember we're colleagues. We're all colleagues in this together.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, when people tell me, dentists are crazy, I always reply, no, all people are crazy. And yes, dentists are people. And every one of us is crazy. And if you think you're not crazy, you're probably batshit crazy. And on that note, Howard, Timmy, we are out of time. Thanks again, buddy. Peace out. Thank you for all you do for me and the townies and your patients and everybody. Thanks a lot for giving me an hour. And send those other guys my way. I want to get them on there too.
Will do.
All right, Timmy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, go to www.howardferran.com and get a copy of my new book, Uncomplicate Business. I went through every monthly column I had written from 1994 to 2015, and I looked at those columns and realized that in business, you only manage 3 things: people, time, and money. So I stripped out all the dental and wrote a book that could take any business to the next level. I don't care if you're a dairy farmer, own a restaurant, you're a plumber, this book is for you. Pre-order my book now. Get your copy at howardferran.com.